David had always been a reserved man, shaped by military discipline and years of dedicated service in the army. At 50, his robust appearance and upright posture reflected his career, but his gentle brown eyes revealed a compassionate soul. After leaving active service, he settled in a small town, leading a peaceful life in a modest but well-kept house. His days were filled with a simple routine. He woke up early, exercised, tended to the garden, and occasionally chatted with the neighbours. Despite his solitary nature, David was respected and beloved in the community, known for his readiness to help and his generous heart. One autumn afternoon, while David was picking up some of his mail, he received an unexpected visit from Charles, an old army comrade. The two men embraced warmly, exchanging smiles and patting each other on the back with the familiarity of old friends. Sitting on the porch with steaming cups of coffee in their hands, Charles shared his recent experiences. He was now working in social initiatives, dedicating himself especially to a local orphanage. His eyes lit up when he spoke about the children, but his expression changed when he mentioned a particular case. "David, there's a boy there. Michael. He is only 9 years old, but he has already been through more than many adults." Charles paused, his voice laden with emotion. "A fire took his family and left him with severe scars. 15 families have already rejected him because of his appearance." David felt a tightness in his chest upon hearing those words. Charles continued, his voice low and thoughtful. "You know, my friend, sometimes life can be cruel." That phrase echoed in David's mind long after Charles had left. He spent the night restless, tossing and turning in bed, his thoughts constantly returning to the boy he had never met. The next morning, David found himself driving to the orphanage. The building was old, but well-maintained, with a small playground in the front yard. Upon entering, he was met with a welcoming atmosphere, despite the simplicity of the place. His eyes scanned the main hall, where several children were playing and chatting excitedly. That was when he saw him, a boy alone in a corner, head down, as if trying to blend in with the wall behind him. Michael was small for his age, with dark and unkempt hair. The scars were evident on his face and arms, painful marks of his past. But when the boy looked up, meeting David's eyes, something extraordinary happened. In those deep brown eyes, David saw a mix of pain and strength that left him breathless. There was a silent resilience there, a light that refused to go out no matter how dark the night was. At that moment, David knew. He couldn't explain it, but he felt with every fibre of his being that this boy was his son. Not by blood, but by a calling of the heart that he could not, and did not want to, ignore. The adoption process was not easy. There were questions about the ability of a single man to raise a child, especially one with such complex emotional needs. But David's determination, combined with the fact that no one else wanted Michael, ultimately prevailed. The day the boy arrived at David's home was the beginning of a new life for both of them. The house, once silent, was filled with the hesitant sounds of childish footsteps and whispered questions. David transformed the guest room into a sanctuary for the boy. Together they painted the walls a soft blue reminiscent of the sky on a clear day. Shelves were filled with books and toys, and a comfortable bed was placed under the window, from where Michael could see the stars at night. The first days were a careful dance of mutual acquaintance. David learned that Michael loved dinosaurs and had a special talent for drawing. The boy discovered that his new dad made delicious pancakes on Sunday mornings and always had time to listen to his stories, no matter how simple they were. As the weeks turned into months, a comfortable routine established itself. David would wake up early to prepare breakfast, while the boy would stretch slowly, still marveling at the fact that he had a bed of his own. Together, they would head to school, with words of encouragement every step of the way. "Remember, son," he heard every morning, "true strength is not in the body, but in character." These words became a mantra, a shield against the curious and sometimes cruel looks from classmates. On difficult days, when the teasing became too much, he held on to this memory and the image of who awaited him at the school gate, with a warm smile and open arms. At home, David's military experience was not used to impose strict rules, but to convey values such as courage, compassion, and perseverance. They spent hours in the garden playing ball, competing in chess games, or simply talking under the shade of the trees. Learning to ride a bicycle was a challenge overcome together, steady hands holding the saddle until balance was achieved. In judo, he learned to fall and get up, literally and emotionally. On summer mornings, the pool became a setting for swimming lessons, with each movement and breath explained patiently. It was everything a boy his age could dream of. A home filled with presence, dedication, and love. At night after dinner, conversations on the porch became routine, watching the stars. David shared stories of his missions, highlighting lessons of camaraderie and courage. He listened with wide eyes, absorbing every detail. On these quiet nights, under the starry sky, the bond between the two grew stronger, woven with threads of trust, understanding, and unconditional love. Neighbors, who already admired David, welcomed the new resident with the same affection. An elderly lady from the house next door often invited them for afternoon tea, always accompanied by her famous cinnamon cookies. Across the street, a retired teacher offered to give private lessons, helping to make up for lost time at school. Over time, confidence grew. The smiles, once rare and shy, became more frequent and radiant. Participating in activities that once frightened him turned into a welcome challenge. However, not everything was easy. There were days when he returned home with tears in his eyes, hurt by cruel comments about his scars. In those moments, he found shelter in the strong embrace that allowed him to cry until the pain subsided. "Your scars are marks of courage," he heard softly. "They show that you are a survivor, a warrior. Never be ashamed of them." These words, repeated with love and conviction, slowly took root. Over time, he began to see his marks not as a burden, but as part of his story, a reminder of strength and resilience. David proudly witnessed each transformation. The physical scars remained, but the inner light shone with enough intensity to overshadow any external mark. Adolescence brought new challenges, but none impossible to face with understanding and affection. In addition to offering comfort during difficult moments, David also invested in treatments to improve his son's appearance whenever the request came from him. He accepted him exactly as he was, with all the marks, but understood that, for the boy, it was important. Every medical appointment was more than an aesthetic procedure. It was a gesture of support, a sign that his desires and insecurities were taken seriously. More than caring for the physical, it helped to rebuild self-esteem. When it came time to choose a career, the decision came without hesitation. "I want to be a doctor, Dad. I want to save lives and give people a second chance, just as you gave me." The college years were tough, but each challenge was faced with the resilience that always characterized him. Unconditional support was never lacking, advice, words of encouragement, and a friendly shoulder during moments of uncertainty. On graduation day, upon seeing the emergency doctor diploma in the hands of someone who was once rejected, David felt his heart overflow with pride. The insecure boy from the past was now a strong, confident man, ready to save lives. The young man quickly established himself in a busy city hospital, earning respect for his skill, compassion, and ability to remain calm under pressure. His colleagues and patients rarely noticed his scars, so captivated they were by his warm personality and genuine care. It was on a stormy summer night that fate put Michael to the test in a way no one could have predicted. Torrential rain battered the city, turning the streets into rivers and making visibility difficult. The emergency room shift was already hectic when the sirens began to sound incessantly. A serious accident had occurred on the main road leading to the city. Several vehicles were involved, including a school bus returning from a field trip. The news was alarming. Dozens of injured, many in critical condition. Michael felt the adrenaline rushing through his veins as he prepared for what would be the most challenging night of his career. He led his team with a calmness that surprised even the most experienced doctors. His firm voice and quick decisions kept everyone focused amidst the chaos. The ambulances arrived one after another, bringing in victims in various states. Michael worked tirelessly, moving from one patient to another, performing emergency procedures, comforting the frightened, and giving precise orders to his team. It was then that he heard a desperate scream coming from the triage area. A child, no more than 6 years old, was trapped in the wreckage of a car that had just arrived. The vehicle was so destroyed that the paramedics feared moving it, afraid of causing more harm. Without hesitation, Michael ran to the location. The scene was heartbreaking. A small girl with wide, frightened eyes was trapped between the twisted metal, and she was crying silently, calling for her mother. Michael approached calmly, crouching to be at the girl's eye level. "Hi, sweetheart," he said softly. "My name is Michael. I'm here to help you. What's your name?" "Sophia," the girl whispered between sobs. "Sophia, you are very brave," Michael continued, his voice soothing and reassuring. "I need you to be strong for just a little bit longer, okay? We're going to get you out of there." As he spoke, Michael quickly assessed the situation. The girl's position was precarious, and any wrong move could have disastrous consequences. With meticulous care, he began to work, guiding his team and the firefighters present. Minutes turned into hours as Michael struggled to free Sophia. His hands moved with surgical precision, maneuvering around sharp metal and broken glass. All the while he maintained a gentle conversation with the girl, distracting her from the pain and fear. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sophia was freed. Michael personally carried her into the hospital, entrusting this precious cargo to no one else. He personally oversaw her treatment, not resting until he was sure she was out of danger. When the storm finally subsided and the sun began to rise, Michael exited the hospital exhausted, but with a full heart. He had led his team through one of the most challenging nights the hospital had ever seen, saving countless lives in the process. In the days that followed, the story of the heroic emergency doctor who led the rescue efforts spread quickly. Journalists began seeking information about Dr. Michael, curious to learn more about the man behind the hero. It was then that Michael's true story came to light. An investigative reporter uncovered the records of his adoption and the story of the boy rejected by 15 families due to his scars. Photos of Michael before and after his adoption began to circulate, showcasing his incredible journey. The story captured the public's imagination. How could that boy, once considered ugly and unwanted, have transformed into such a dedicated and courageous doctor? Social media exploded with messages of support and admiration, not just for Michael, but also for David, the man who saw beyond appearances and gave a lonely boy a chance to shine. Pressed by media attention, Michael finally agreed to give an interview. Sitting in a television studio, under the bright lights of the cameras, he spoke with poignant honesty about his journey. "My life changed the day my father chose me," Michael said, his voice choked with emotion. "He taught me that scars do not define me. He gave me a second chance and showed me that I could be strong, not just for myself but for others." While Michael spoke, the camera showed David sitting in the front row of the audience, with silent tears streaming down his face. The pride and love in his eyes were palpable, touching the hearts of everyone watching. The interview went viral, inspiring millions of people around the world. Messages of gratitude flooded the hospital where Michael worked, many from people who had faced rejection or discrimination due to physical differences. In the days that followed, there was a noticeable increase in adoption requests, especially for children with special needs or physical differences. Michael and David's story had struck a chord with society, reminding everyone of the transformative power of unconditional love. For Michael, however, the greatest reward came in the form of a tight hug from his father after the interview. "I'm so proud of you, son," David whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. Michael smiled, feeling once again like that 9-year-old boy who finally found a home. "Thank you, Dad," he replied. for everything. As father and son left the studio together hand in hand, they were the living embodiment of the lesson their story taught the world, that true beauty and strength come from within, that love can transform lives, and that sometimes the most unlikely heroes emerge from the most unexpected places. The story of Michael and David became a symbol of hope and inspiration, reminding everyone that scars, whether physical or emotional, do not define a person. It is love, courage, and compassion that truly shape who we are and the impact we can have on the world. And so, in a small town, with one brave act of love, David not only changed the life of a boy, but started a ripple of change that touched hearts around the world, proving that sometimes the most heroic gesture of all is simply opening one's heart and giving someone a chance. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.